The story begins in a familiar yet unsettling way, when a group of children surround another boy, mocking and tormenting him. Just when the cruelty seems unbearable, a young girl steps forward. She is the protagonist of this tale, En-mei, and though she is small, her spirit is formidable. One of the boys, eager to reassert his dominance, strikes her across the forehead with such force that blood begins to flow. Yet En-mei does not yield. Her defiance rattles the bullies, and they scatter in fear. She bends down, helps the wounded boy rise, and in the very next breath, distracts him by showing him a puppy who was abandoned nearby. The harshness of the moment dissolves into tenderness as both children instantly adore the little creature. En-mei christens the puppy White, a name born from the pale streak of white color that ran along one side of its side. Soon, however, the mood shifts when the boy must return overseas, as he lives in New York and he came here only for his visit to his grandparents. He loves White so much so he decides to take the puppy with him. As his mother calls him into the car, he lingers, waiting for En-mei, the girl who had captured his admiration. Just before leaving, when En-mei comes running as she always did, he quietly lifts his camera and captures her photograph while sitting in the car. That single image becomes his final memory of her. From a distance, he waves farewell, before disappearing abroad with his mother and the puppy in his arms. Years slip away. The scene now cuts to En-mei, now older, her voice raised in panic as she realizes she is late for school. She dashes about her home, preparing at breakneck speed. As she charges toward the door, her parents call her back for breakfast, but she refuses. Her mother, noticing the forgotten lunchbox, slips it hurriedly into her bag from the top floor of the building as En-mei bolts outside. There, she encounters her childhood friend and neighbor, June. He stops her in her tracks, tugging her playfully and urging her to come along with him. En-mei's narration admits with brutal honesty that she has teased June since childhood. Back then he was plump and she regarded him as her living teddy bear. They quarreled endlessly in those days, and adulthood has done nothing to soften their tempers. If anything, their arguments have become fiercer. They both reach the school and June reminds her of his new song. And just then, the most admired girl in school arrives, Porima. The boys trail after her like shadows. Yet Porima's secret affection lies with June. June, on the other hand, has carried a silent affection for En-mei since their earliest days, though she remains oblivious. Porima, being a member of June's band, pulls him away. Meanwhile, En-mei sits with her friend Pudding and together they observe Jialing, who is weeping bitterly over a breakup. En-mei and Pudding try to console her, and in between sobs, Jialing admits the breakup might have been for the best. She reveals that she overheard teachers speaking of a new student, a boy fresh from abroad, brilliant in every subject, and she now planning to impress this new boy. She confesses she is excited to see him. Their quiet talk is suddenly interrupted by June's ball, which strikes Jialing and soils her clothes. June, rather than apologizing, merely collects his ball and walks away. En-mei, enraged by his indifference, storms after him because now he was crossing all lines. She soils his shirt deliberately, igniting a heated quarrel. Pudding intervenes, reminding them that future brides and grooms shouldn't fight. Both snap back furiously, denying any such future because they both hate each other like America hates China. En-mei, in a flash of mischief, produces an old childhood photo of June, threatening to post it in the school group since he was fat in those photos. Humiliated at the thought, June lunges for her phone. What begins as a spat escalates into a physical tussle. They grapple on the ground, fighting to seize the fallen mobile phone. Jialing, instead of intervening, gleefully declares this is showtime. She calls other students, even mocking the spectacle by promising a good look at the fight in exchange for chicken burgers. Soon, the fight becomes the talk of the school. Once again, June and his future wife En-mei are brawling, and students flock to witness the drama as if it were a gladiator match. En-mei pins June down and pummels him while he refuses to hit her back. The crowd grows, their cheers swelling. One boy asks why June won't retaliate, and another explains with mock solemnity that En-mei is his future wife, and a husband never strikes his wife. The first boy shrugs and boldly declares he'll strike her himself. June reaches for the phone, but En-mei intercepts, showering him with punches and shouting that she spares no one who dares outdo her. She even clamps her hand around his throat, and the two descend into scratching each other's faces in blind fury. Sensing the danger as now the fight is out of her hand, Pudding rushes to cry out that a teacher is coming. The crowd scatters instantly. Meanwhile, Jialing cunningly gathers the burgers to resell later, a perfect proof that capitalism thrives even in schoolyard chaos. A mischievous student was so scared that he threw a box of chalk at the fighters before fleeing. At that moment, the new transfer student appears, Lixing, the boy from abroad. The chalk box bursts, its powder raining down. Yet Enmei's eyes are fixed on Lixing, as though the world has paused. Before the chalk can fall upon them, he intervenes. With one powerful kick, he sends the box flying through the window, where it strikes the unfortunate caretaker outside and knocks him unconscious. The students were so unserious that they immediately surrounded the poor man to take selfies, because evidently, concern has long since been replaced by the pursuit of content. Meanwhile, in the classroom, Enmei is left utterly transfixed on this new boy. As Lixing is tall, handsome, his eyes magnetic, and his aura effortlessly regal, he is truly the embodiment of the prince she had once imagined. Perhaps she has fallen in love at first sight. At this scene, a boy comes and breaks the fourth wall by announcing with glee that a love triangle has now begun. The scene then cuts to all three, Enmei, June, and Lixing, standing outside the classroom punished. Though innocent, Lixing too must bear the penalty. But Enmei was very happy, and she kept sneaking glances at him, thanking him softly, while June seethed with jealousy. He accuses Lixing of being the reason for their punishment, but Enmei silences him. Here is the sweetest truth that Enmei and Lixing are the very children who once met in their earliest years when she saved him from those bullies, though neither realizes it yet. That night, June eats dinner at Enmei's house. With no parents of his own, he is often invited by her mother. When Enmei's father teases the two about marrying in the future, Enmei snaps, declaring she cannot imagine June as her partner, and he doesn't even know how to eat properly, and she won't marry June even if he is the last person alive, and demands they stop teasing her. June, however, secretly glows with joy when anyone talks about their wedding. The story then shifts to New York City, where Lixing's mother lives. On a video call, she lectures him sternly about his studies, while he barely listens. Because he had placed his photograph on the video call and he went to the veterinarian's office with his old dog, White. The puppy of his childhood is still with him, though now frail and aging. On their way home, Lixing's grandfather warns that if his mother discovers he abandoned a prestigious city school to study at a village school and live with them, she will be furious. Lixing reassures him with quiet confidence, promising that he will handle everything and that she will not find out. When Lixing returns home, he finally meets his grandmother, who has grown frail with age and suffers from Alzheimer's. Her memory has weakened, and her forgetfulness hangs over the household like a soft melancholy. The following day, Enmei confides in her friends that she has developed a keen interest in Lixing. From this moment onward, she declares that he will be her one and only target. Meanwhile, Jun, who has scored well in archery, begins boasting loudly before the class, bragging that no one, not even Enmei, can ever match him. His pride is short-lived as Lixing calmly picks up a bow and sends an arrow straight through the bullseye. Everyone falls silent in awe, especially Enmei. He follows it with several more flawless shots. Afterward, Lixing remarks coolly that the scores are sufficient and excuses himself. June scowls, muttering that Lixing only shows off to impress the girls. Yet Enmei is clearly captivated. Later, she tells her friends with firm resolve that she must find a way to befriend Lixing. Pudding advises her to start with something simple and offer him bubble coffee. Enmei prepares exactly that, armed with her cup of bubble tea and determination. But before she can present it, she notices several other girls handing Lixing iced coffees. Lixing declines each one, saying he doesn't like sweet drinks. The poor fellow must have single-handedly kept the bitter coffee industry alive. Crestfallen, Enmei walks away with her untouched bubble coffee, reporting back to her friends that she will need another plan. That evening, while eating dinner, she observes her parents. Her mother gently places food into her father's bowl, and he accepts it with quiet gratitude. Wanting to imitate this, Enmei places something into her father's bowl as well. To her surprise, he refuses, saying he does not like that dish. Puzzled, she asks how her mother always seems to know his preferences. It is her elder brother who explains with patient gravity. When two people live together, sharing everything, they gradually come to know each other's likes and dislikes without needing words, and that, he says, is love. Enmei listens intently, letting the meaning sink in. The next day, she announces to her friends that she has found a solution. While Jun munches his food indifferently, she declares her new plan as from now on, she will always try to stay close to Lixing. Her first step will be to sit directly opposite his desk. At that moment, Porima arrives, asking June to join her for song practice. As usual, a crowd of boys is trailing behind Porima like a human parade. June, irritated, scolds them and drives them away. Ironically, it is this very trait of June, his refusal to fawn over her, that Porima finds most attractive. Meanwhile, Enmei attempts to swap desks with the student who sits in front of Lixing. The student occupying the desk refuses. Quick-witted, she slyly points out that the chopsticks had been used by Porima. The boy immediately relinquishes the seat, as though Porima's leftover utensils were relics worth worshipping. At last, Enmei secures the seat in front of Lixing and introduces herself warmly, telling him he can ask for anything he needs. Lixing simply nods and replies that she should first lean forward and do not disturb him. Confused, Enmei bends slightly, only to realize he has caught her attempting to snap a secret photo with her phone. Embarrassed, she hides it, and Lixing lowers his head with quiet disapproval. The teacher, suspecting Lixing of not paying attention, suddenly calls on him with a difficult question. Lixing, reclining casually, gives the perfect answer. The class erupts in astonished murmurs at his brilliance. Even Enmei is impressed, while June grows restless with frustration because she was giving too much attention to this boy. The next day, Enmei insists that Lixing should eat his lunch. He refuses, saying he prefers to stick to his sandwich. As he raises it to take a bite, Enmei snatches it from his hand and eats it herself, scolding him for eating the same thing every day. Yet one bite is enough for her to gag and spit it out, exclaiming in disgust, and she asked him how he eats these kinds of food. Lixing explains patiently that he only eats healthy food. Their friends, watching from afar, gasp and tease that Enmei has practically kissed Lixing by eating his half-eaten sandwich. June protests immediately, asking if that logic means he and Enmei also kiss daily since they share lunch every day. At that, the two hastily snatch back their own lunchboxes, while Pudding wipes her lips nervously as if guilty by association. Later, Enmei secretly discovers Lixing's routine. Every evening he takes his dog White for a walk. She follows him and finds him sitting quietly, staring at an old childhood photograph of Enmei herself, though she couldn't see the picture, and he also does not yet realize that she is the same girl from his past. When she approaches and asks what he is looking at, Lixing is startled. Enmei pretends she too often walks alone here and begins chatting with White. Lixing is surprised. For the first time, his dog behaves warmly toward a stranger. Enmei comments that the dog's name is White and muses aloud that she once had a puppy named White when she was little, though she cannot recall it clearly. Suddenly, White hears a noise and bolts. The two chase after him, and just as the dog is about to collide with a car, Enmei leaps forward, shielding him. Lixing rushes over, alarmed, asking if she is all right. Enmei's leg is injured. Lixing begins dialing for an ambulance, but then notices the scar on her forehead. Recognition dawns as she is the same girl who once saved him as a child. Enmei insists she is fine and tells him not to call anyone. She will go to the hospital herself. But as she walks away, Lixing notices her gait, the same stride he remembers from childhood. Without hesitation, he lifts her into his arms and carries her, announcing that he will take her to the hospital himself. Enmei, though astonished, feels a strange warmth. Yet she cannot decipher his intentions. Is this kindness because she is hurt, or could it be because he, too, has begun to feel something? As Lixing tends to her, he asks about the scar on her forehead. Enmei admits that she was a scrappy child who often fought, and she doesn't even remember when or how the scar formed, because back then she seemed to be in fights constantly. This only confirms Lixing's certainty that Enmei is the very girl he has remembered for years. Enmei, too, feels comfort in his presence. Lixing recalls her childhood words that he should always smile, stay strong, and keep the dog with him. These words echo in his memory, binding past and present together. The scene shifts to Lixing speaking with his grandfather, confessing that there is a girl very dear to him who seems to have forgotten their shared past. His grandfather smiles gently and replies that it does not matter after all. Sometimes even his own wife forgets him. Does that diminish their love? Of course not. When Lixing hears this, he becomes heartened and decides that he will take care of Enmei. Soon after, his grandfather dresses up with his wife, for she has declared she wants to marry again. Her memory has grown so fragile that she does not recall their lifelong union. She looks at her husband fondly and tells him how handsome the man arranging the wedding is. The grandfather chuckles, teasing that none could be more handsome than him. She calls him her hero, and the two marry again, dancing joyfully together. Lixing, watching them, feels his heart lift at their happiness as now he had also found his girl. The next day, rehearsal space fills with music and June wishes to alter the lyrics of their song. Porima immediately refuses, sensing that he only wants to rewrite the lines with Enmei in mind. As the others leave, June stops Porima, telling her he wishes to speak privately. Meanwhile, Lixing walks ahead of Enmei, while Pudding trails behind with her. Lixing, deep in thought, wonders how he might remind Enmei that he is her childhood friend. At that moment, he notices a group of bullies nearby. The sight sparks an idea. He provokes them deliberately, delivering lofty lectures on self-improvement. Predictably, they bristle and jeer, asking if he fancies himself their teacher. Lixing only smirks and tells them not to back down but to join him when the time is right. Meanwhile, at the school, Porima confesses her feelings to June, but he outright rejects her, saying that he is not interested in her. Hurt, she asks if he loves Enmei. June replies firmly that, yes, Enmei will marry him one day. Because they grew up together, they know everything about one another, and only he truly understands her. Porima then shows him a photograph of Enmei preoccupied with another boy, who was of course Lixing. Seeing this, June is stunned because jealousy ignites in him like a slow-burning fire. Cut back to Lixing. He tells the bullies to wait a while and then beat him as much as they like. The boys grow restless, and finally, when Lixing sees Enmei approaching, he signals them to begin. They pounce, beating him mercilessly. Meanwhile, Lixing was hoping that Enmei will witness it and recall the past. But fate intervenes as Pudding has lured Enmei away for ice cream, and she sees none of it. Lixing, abandoned to his scheme, finds himself cornered. Yet he is no longer the weak child he once was. Lixing fights back, his strength astonishing them, and fights with all of them. He thrashes them with precision, teaching them a sharp lesson. One of the bullies calls out desperately for June to help. June arrives, shouting Lixing's name. What followed between them, however, veils the battle in mystery. The next morning, Enmei limps painfully as she is still unable to walk properly, but she comes to school because of Lixing. When she sees June battered and bruised, she asks anxiously who he fought with. He shrugs, insisting it was just rough play with friends. As she turns to leave, he offers to carry her bag and take her upstairs. She refuses, choosing to go alone. Watching her, June suddenly cries out, accusing her of rejecting his help while freely accepting Lixing's, even riding on his back. Enmei freezes in shock. How does June know this? She explains defensively that Lixing only carried her to the hospital and scolds June not to shout at her again before walking away. June is left standing in silence, crushed, unable to confess the jealousy that gnaws at him whenever he sees her with Lixing. In the classroom, Enmei found out that Lixing had not come to school. The teacher insists the day's test is important and asks if someone will deliver the paper to Lixing's home. Enmei instantly volunteers, proclaiming loudly that she will go. After all, she is his friend. Outside Lixing's home, she meets him with visible wounds across his face. Shocked, she asks who hurt him. Lixing takes her inside, where she finally meets his grandmother. The old woman, frail and unwell, mistakes Lixing for someone else who is trying to hurt her. Frightened, she urges Enmei to call her husband at once and breaks into tears. Lixing explains that his grandfather has gone far away to fetch her medicine and will take time to return. Grandmother's health deteriorates rapidly as she now wants to run away from him, and suddenly Enmei suggests an idea. She put her tablet to her face. On a video call, the grandfather appears. The grandmother, believing Enmei to be her younger husband, begins to dance happily, convinced he is there with her. Lixing plays music softly in the background, and together they calm her until she drifts into peaceful sleep. Afterward, Lixing and Enmei sit outside, talking late into the evening. They share stories, laughter, and silences that feel like beginnings of something profound. That night, Lixing's grandfather asks if this is the girl who has forgotten him. Lixing admits it is. His grandfather counsels gently that if she cannot remember the past, then make new memories so indelible that she will never forget them. Lixing accepts this with quiet resolve. From the very next day, he begins spending as much time with Enmei as possible. Sometimes he prepares her favorite sandwich, sometimes brings her bubble coffee, sometimes teases her playfully in class. Their friendship blossoms as they laugh, scare one another in jest, and stay up late talking about everything under the sundae. Enmei finds herself drawn to Lixing's presence like a shadow she enjoys chasing. Lixing also pushes her academically, sitting beside her each day to practice mathematics. June watches their closeness with growing discomfort, and he couldn't stand seeing his future wife with the boy he hates. One day, June takes En-mei aside, saying he needs to speak with her. June then took her to his co-host, the girl who was supposed to appear with him at the upcoming festival, sobbing because of a breakup. Desperate, June asks En-mei to step in as his host partner. At first, she refuses, but eventually she agrees. Later, she tells Lixing about it and urges him to come watch the show. Lixing promises he will, though he warns he might be late because he must take White for an injection. The music festival finally arrives. The grounds are alive with people. Performances are already underway, and the crowd buzzes with excitement. Among them is Porima, her heart heavy with unspoken emotions. Determined to resolve her feelings, she approaches June, clutching the second button from her school uniform shirt. This gesture carries weight in East Asian tradition in Japan, China, and Taiwan that the second button from a boy's or girl's school shirt, placed near the heart, is given to one's crush as a symbol of affection. Porima stands ready to give it to June. But June, unwavering, tells her again that the only girl who matters to him is En-mei. Even if she does not love him now, one day she will understand his feelings. And if he can never have her, he will still love only her, for she is his childhood love. Porima's heart shatters at his words. She cannot give him the button. Meanwhile, Lixing prepares to attend the festival. He asks En-mei what she would like him to bring. She lists all her favorite things: her preferred bubble coffee, her snacks, her quirks, her indulgences. Lixing listens patiently, then remarks dryly that her requests sound like a calorie bomb. At the counter, the vendor chuckles, recognizing immediately that this order is for En-mei. He tells Lixing that this is the first time someone other than June has known En-mei's exact tastes. He adds with a grin that Lixing and En-mei look adorable together, but warns him that if he wishes to win her heart, he must first surpass June. Because June has loved her since childhood. Lixing remained silent, offering no reply because now he understood the situation very clearly. Lixing remembers the fight from that fateful day, the quarrel that had begun because of En-mei. June had declared fiercely that she belonged only to him, vowing he would never let anyone else take her away. Reflecting on those words in the present, Lixing grows even more despondent. The scene shifts. En-mei is now on stage as host. After a string of introductions and glowing compliments, she invites June's band to perform. The group assembles, and June begins strumming his guitar. But Porima, her heart still fractured from rejection, refuses to sing and leaves the band immediately. Confusion ripples through the crowd. Porima apologizes softly, admitting she cannot go through with it, and she walks off despite En-mei's attempts to stop her. The students are stunned as now their show appears ruined. Then, like a sudden twist, En-mei herself begins singing. June, thrilled, joins in. Since he had already rehearsed the song with her, their performance blended seamlessly. Their voices rise together, filling the hall. The audience is enchanted. Yet when Lixing arrives and sees them singing as one, his heart sinks. To him, they look like two people perfectly meant for each other. He begins to feel like an intruder in their story, a needless character in a love tale already written. With quiet resignation, he turns away, convincing himself he must distance from En-mei. Later, En-mei walks home with June, who showers her with relentless praise, commending her voice, her confidence, her stage presence. His gratitude flows endlessly. En-mei, however, is preoccupied, her mind circling one question: why didn't Lixing come to watch her? Why hasn't he replied to her messages? The next day, when Lixing arrives at school, En-mei confronts him directly, asking why he hadn't attended, whether he was sick, and why he ignored her texts. Lixing only replies that he needs to speak with her alone. As they slip away, June notices them heading toward the rooftop. There, Lixing tells En-mei bluntly that he disliked seeing her sing with June. Alarmed, she protests that June is simply her friend. Lixing shakes his head, saying it didn't look like friendship, that their closeness was undeniable. If she was so close to June, then she should not have tried to befriend him as well. En-mei insists desperately that Lixing is mistaken, but Lixing cuts her off, saying she seems to mingle too easily with everyone, as though she were a girl who bonds with anyone at first glance. These words crush her. Hearing such a judgment from her crush feels like a knife twisting in her chest. Lixing speaks to them with effort, hardening his heart for him. He believes June, who has loved her since childhood, deserves her more. When June later sees Lixing return alone, he asks anxiously where En-mei is. Lixing replies that he has done what June wanted, ensuring June's happiness. June immediately realizes the truth that Lixing has pushed her away. In a panic, he searches everywhere until he finds En-mei sitting alone. Relieved, June blurts out that he had feared she might have taken her own life. En-mei scoffs bitterly, saying she is not foolish enough to end her life, especially with her parents still alive. Then she confides how Lixing has distanced himself, though she had truly loved him. June comforts her, promising that she still has him. He whisks her away to a gaming zone, where the two play wildly, laugh, and forget themselves. They sing, dance, gorge on burgers, and gulp down bubble coffee until their stomachs ache. But the merriment doesn't last. At June's studio, while singing, En-mei suddenly breaks down in sobs, Lixing's harsh words replaying in her mind. Through tears, she wonders aloud, if Lixing never cared for her, then why did he bring her lunch, tease her playfully, or share moments that felt so genuine? Was she nothing more than a toy to him? As she collapses in grief, June seizes the moment, asking why she cannot look at him instead of Lixing. He reminds her that they grew up together, that they share everything, that no one understands her like he does. For the first time, he confesses openly that he loves her, but when he turns to her, he finds she has fallen asleep. He shakes her gently awake, asking if she heard. En-mei blinks and feigns ignorance, claiming she heard nothing. She excuses herself under the pretext of dinner and hurries away. June realizes bitterly that she did hear and is avoiding the truth. Outside, En-mei was shocked and she whispers to herself, gasping for breath, that she had come to lighten her heart, but instead it feels heavier than ever. At home, she gazes at Jun's photograph and wonders fleetingly if something could ever exist between them. But almost immediately, she rejects the thought. Her heart belongs only to Lixing because she has never seen June as more than a friend. Meanwhile, her parents worry that she has locked herself away. Her brother hatches a simple plan. He begins cooking her favorite noodles just outside her door. The aroma wafts in, and En-mei, momentarily forgetting her sorrows, emerges. But for the first time, even her favorite noodles cannot cheer her. She tells her family the truth that Lixing has rejected her, calling her easy. Her mother advises her gently. She should not have listened silently but demanded the real reason from him. En-mei insists through tears that she is not what he called her. Her mother comforts her, explaining that love is built on understanding. She recalls how she once pursued En-mei's father patiently, and how their happiness was born from persistence. She tells her daughter not to give up so easily, and to seek clarity from Lixing again. The words spark a fragile hope in En-mei, but the next day, when she tries to speak to Lixing in class, she is scolded harshly by the English teacher. Stern and authoritarian, a Hitler-type instructor, he berates her in French, mocking her poor grades and calling her stupid, worthless, and inattentive. The class is bewildered. They cannot even understand his language. But Lixing, enraged, rises and answers the teacher back in flawless French. He declares that no teacher has the right to demean a student, as his duty is to teach, not to insult. The class stares in shock, wondering what strange foreign language these two are suddenly speaking. The classroom hangs in tense silence. The teacher, irate at Lixing's defiance, snaps at him in French, telling him there is no need to play the hero. Who is this girl to you anyway? Lixing rises with steady conviction. He declares that En-mei is immensely important to him, and that insulting her is the same as insulting him. He will never grant anyone the right to humiliate another. With that, he calmly returns to his seat. What he does not realize is that June has recorded the entire exchange, intending to translate it later. The teacher, still fuming, refuses to back down. He mutters more insults under his breath, and Lixing's temper flares again. He warns that he will file a report against the teacher, reminding him this is not the first time he has berated students in French, violating the rules. At once, the students begin to cheer silently in their hearts. Even though they cannot understand a word of French, they know Lixing is confronting the tyrant for En-mei's sake, and that knowledge alone makes their admiration swell. En-mei herself is astonished to see Lixing's fierce defense of her dignity. The scene cuts to the teacher storming into the staff room, venting his rage, vowing he will not let Lixing get away with this. A security guard overhears everything from the teacher and steps in. The guard claims he has his own score to settle with that boy, reminding the teacher that on Lixing's very first day, he was the one who had injured the guard's head. He promises to teach Lixing a lesson. He plays a video of Lixing fighting with June, sneering that they can use this as evidence. As he bombards Lixing with questions, Lixing bristles in anger. The guard smirks and says, "A witness is on the way," Once testimony is given, Lixing will surely be expelled. At that moment, June arrives and Lixing prepares himself, assuming June will testify against him. But to his shock, June declares that Lixing never fought him. They were only roughhousing as friends. Lixing is stunned as he cannot comprehend that June is actually defending him. The guard protests, accusing June of lying, but June remains firm. With no evidence left, the guard fails to get Lixing expelled. Instead, both boys are punished with the most curious sentence, cycling at high speed around the grounds. Evidently, in this school, cardio doubles as justice. Later, Lixing asks June why he helped. June replies simply because Lixing defended Enmei. Lixing wonders if June truly understood everything. June proves he has, playing back the recording he translated into Chinese. He admits that while he may not be as brilliant as Lixing in academics, he is no fool. He confesses that he has already lost to Lixing, for he confessed his feelings to Enmei and received no reply. From now on, he will not stand in Lixing's way. But he warns that Enmei was deeply hurt when Lixing called her easy. Hearing this, Lixing is stricken with guilt, realizing the wound his careless words inflicted. Meanwhile, Enmei was very sad, and her friend advised her gently that the way Lixing stood up for her today shows he is hiding his feelings. She should speak to him. Inspired, Enmei brings a cake to Lixing. Lixing laughs, saying it isn't his birthday, it's White's. On his social media, he had marked White's birthday as the day he first met him, which was also the day he first met Enmei. She smiles and insists they celebrate anyway. Rain begins to pour, forcing them to take shelter. They cut the cake, and Enmei asks Lixing to make 3 wishes. His first is that White recovers quickly. His second is an apology to Enmei. She interrupts, saying firmly that she is not easy. She then tells White tenderly that since he isn't well, he cannot have cake. Their conversation grows softer, and suddenly Enmei kissed Lixing by mistake, and she apologized to him by saying that she was easy. Lixing didn't say anything, and he got closer to her until they nearly leaned in for a kiss. At that very moment, White vomits violently. The mood shatters. Panic grips them. Lixing frantically tries calling for an ambulance, but the storm has disrupted the network. Enmei scoops White into her arms and runs, insisting they cannot waste time. They reach one clinic, but it is closed. They rush to another, but find it locked too. Lixing is in despair, and Enmei bursts into tears. Just then, June calls, asking where she is since her mother has dinner ready. Through sobs, Enmei explains the situation and begs for help. June runs immediately. They catch a doctor just as he is about to close shop. At first he refuses, until June drops to his knees, pleading that the dog belongs to the boy, whose girlfriend is the very girl he has loved since childhood. The doctor, moved by his desperation, agrees. Meanwhile, Lixing clutches White, convinced his heartbeat has stopped. He cries, remembering every memory with his loyal companion. Enmei weeps beside him. At last, June arrives and carries White inside, explaining that a clinic is still open. Enmei looks at him in shock, as how had he come so quickly after her call? The doctor examines White, but the truth is crushing. He apologizes that they were too late. White has died. Lixing collapses into tears, his grief raw and unrestrained. Enmei tries to comfort him but breaks down herself. June saw this and left quietly, heartbroken. Back home, he eats furiously, trying to smother his sorrow with food. Enmei's parents notice his misery and slip away, giving him space. Alone, June finally sobs uncontrollably. To see the girl he always considered his own cry for another boy is a pain too deep to swallow. After this huge loss, when Lixing returns home, he is shocked to find his mother waiting. Someone has informed her that he has been living in the village. She insists he pack his things immediately. She will arrange for him to continue his studies abroad. Lixing's grandfather urges her to sit and eat first, but the grandmother, confused, asks who this woman is. The grandfather gently reminds her that it is their daughter. Lixing's mother then scolds her father, accusing him of keeping his wife at home when she should be in a care center. She insists she will handle the paperwork with her manager. The grandfather's patience snaps. He reminds her firmly that he has said countless times they do not need to be separated. He can care for his wife himself. His wife only needs him, and she should not interfere in their business. But Lixing's mother retorts coldly. She declares that she doesn't know who will die first, her father or her mother, or how long they have left, but she claims her interference is for their own good. Grandfather's voice grew louder, and he tells Lixing's mother that he knows they have become nothing but a burden in her eyes, that she neither calls them once a year nor asks about their well-being. And now she has returned only to take her son away. His words sting, the quarrel escalates, and grandmother begins to weep. Lixing, overwhelmed, cries out that, "Mother, I will go with you abroad if you wish, but please, do not separate my grandparents." His mother softens immediately, her anger replaced by satisfaction that her son has finally agreed to leave. The following day, Lixing meets Enmei. He first helps her revise for the upcoming exam, then admits he is being forced to return overseas. His plan had always been to finish school here, but his mother refuses. Enmei is devastated. She bursts into tears, lamenting that they never even celebrated Christmas, New Year, or Valentine's together. "I risked my life for you," she sobs. "And now, when everything feels right, you are leaving. I cannot bear it." Her heart lays itself bare, and she confesses openly that she loves him deeply and cannot live without him. Lixing too weeps bitterly, but he is powerless. He must go. The two cling to each other in sorrow. Now some time has passed. Lixing departs for abroad, leaving Enmei alone. Yet distance cannot sever them as they sustain their bond through endless video calls. Every day they talk for hours. Whenever Enmei goes out, Lixing is virtually beside her on screen. He is there during her birthday celebrations, and even when she injures herself, his words of encouragement echo across the connection. June, steadfast as always, continues caring for her too, their friendship intact. When college begins, Enmei introduces Lixing to her friends through video calls. They remain inseparable, even appearing together when Pudding's proposal ceremony takes place. But slowly, the inevitability of life intrudes. Enmei secures a job and becomes immersed in her work, deliberately trying not to trouble Lixing. He too finds employment, but unlike her, he feels crushing loneliness. Surrounded by her friends, she moves forward, while he drifts in solitude, clinging only to memories of her. The scene shifts to Jiajing's wedding day. Pudding, now a mother, scolds her child in a corner while Jiajing asks bluntly about Enmei's future. "Will you always remain like this? You must move on. You cannot forget Lixing yet cannot love anyone else either." She adds that Lixing has been invited to the wedding. If he does not come, Enmei must accept it and move forward. Enmei stays silent, handing over an envelope from June. Jiajing opens it expecting money but finds only a small amount. She laughs, saying she always knew June was miserly and would never give much. The festivities continue joyfully, but Lixing never arrives. Enmei's heart sinks. As she leaves, she whispers that it feels as if her crush, Lixing, has vanished from her life forever. She misses him desperately, but all she can do is remember. Sitting alone, she scrolls through the private account the two had created only for each other, filled with their memories. She grows emotional at each photo, and by accident, she likes one of their photos. Suddenly, a notification pings. Lixing has returned to Enmei, and seeing this, she is stunned. The thing is that he had appeared at the wedding after all, but by then Enmei had already left. Lixing, however, knows exactly where to find her. He meets her there, and they exchange greetings after so long. With heartfelt intensity, Lixing tells her he has waited for this moment for years, because his third wish had never been fulfilled. He leans forward and kisses her, completing the kiss they had once been denied. His third wish is finally realized, and Enmei, overwhelmed, bursts into tears of joy. After such a long wait, Lixing has returned to her. He too is overcome with emotion. This wholesome story then closes with the two of them living together at the grandparents' home. Time has passed. Perhaps the grandparents are gone, but their memory lingers in the house. Enmei and Lixing now inhabit it as partners. They even bring home a white puppy, echoing the beginning of their story. As it began with a puppy, so too does their happiness begin anew.